The Total Screen proudly presents their official podcast, On Screen, with your hosts, Tyson Gifford and William Rohrig. Hello, everybody, and welcome to On Screen, the official podcast of the Total Screen. My name is Tyson.
My name is Will.
And today we are going to be talking about Alien Earth, which just concluded this week, I believe. And we've also got some trailers to go over in our On Beat segment, and some stuff to look forward to that's coming up on the horizon. And that's where we're going to start things off with our On the Horizon segment.
On the horizon.
This week with On the Horizon, we're going to start things off with Saturday Night Live, which is returning on Saturday, October 4th on NBC and the next day on Peacock. Family Guy, a Little Fright Music holiday special, is coming on Monday, October 6th to Hulu. Boots, which is kind of a military thing about these LGBTQ people joining the military and like about the boot camp for the Marines, I think. And I found out is actually Norman Lear's final project. He did this.
Oh,
he was working on this when he passed away.
Oh, wow.
That's coming on Thursday, October 9th to Netflix. Yooka-Replaylee is coming also on Thursday, October 9th to PC, PS5, Xbox Series X, and Switch 2. The Last Frontier, which is from the creator of The Blacklist, and is about prisoners who escape in Alaska. And then there's like a plane crash, they escape. Turns out the plane crash might have been man-made disaster or something specifically to create some distraction by having all these dangerous convicts loose in Alaska or something. That is coming on Friday, October 10th to Apple TV+. Battlefield 6 is also coming out on Friday, October 10th to PC, PS5, and Xbox Series X. Little Nightmares 3 is coming also on Friday, October 10th to PC, PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X, and Switch, as well as Switch 2. Roofman is coming to theaters on Friday, October 10th. That's the one with Channing Tatum. I think it's based on a true story about a guy who escapes from prison and ends up like hiding in a Toys R Us or something. It's got Peter Dinklage in it as well.
Oh, okay.
Anemone is coming on Friday, October 10th to theaters. That's the one that's bringing Daniel Day-Lewis out of retirement. And Tron Ares is also coming out on Friday, October 10th to theaters. So, yeah, that is what is coming up on the horizon. And now we're going to move on to our On Beat segment. On Beat. On Beat is where we talk about the news, trailers, stuff like that. This week we've just got 5 trailers to go over. First, we got a trailer for Star Wars Visions Volume 3. This is like their anime compilation or anthology series that they've done 2 previous seasons for. They get a lot of mostly Japanese studios. I think the first season was mostly Japanese, and the second was like a lot of kind of different American studios and a few Japanese ones, I think, as well. This one looks like it's kind of moving back more towards like Japanese ones. I know Trigger did one of them, I guess. They're the guys that did Cyberpunk Edge Runners. There's also, I believe, Production IG has one in here. They did like Blood Plus and a bunch of other stuff. Yeah, Star Wars anime stuff again. Look good to you?
Yeah, looks amazing. Yeah, it's definitely like one of the Star Wars things I want to see.
Mm-hmm. Next up, we've got Gungrave Gore Blood Heat. So this was like the
weird.
Third game in the franchise?
Is it? I thought there was only one game on PSP.
I thought there were 2 on PS2 back in the day.
And it was like based off of an anime series in the early 2000s.
I thought the game was first, and then the anime, and then they did another game. But maybe. I could be wrong.
Yeah, it was created as a game first. Oh, yeah, there was a sequel, Gungrave Overdose, for PS2. Okay, interesting. I did not know that they made more than one PS2 game for some reason, or just like left my head. It was interesting here because they announced like Gungrave Gore, and I was like, okay, that's cool.
They announced it like last year or something, didn't they? But it was just like a they didn't show anything.
According to like Wikipedia, this came out already. this came out already.
It did?
This was released for worldwide November 22nd, 2022. What?
This is weird.
What's Wikipedia on?
Are you looking at for the original Gungrave game?
Oh, Gungrave Gore, Gore.
Well, this one is called, to be specific, Gungrave Gore Blood Heat.
Oh, okay.
This
This is an enhanced version. Okay. I had no clue. So this is how, like, out of touch with this I am. So this is like a remake or something of that then?
Well, it looks like they have Gungrave Gore Ultimate Enhanced Edition was for the Nintendo Switch.
Yes, that was on the Nintendo Switch 1. Okay, yeah, this one is one that's coming soon. Oh, that's so weird. Okay, so this is a sequel to Gungrave Gore, apparently.
Maybe it's DLC or something, I don't know.
No, this is like a full sequel. Okay. Yeah, interesting. But anyway, like, I don't know, like, about any of the other games in the series, like, especially, like, Gungrave Gore. I remember, like, when the original Gungrave came out on PS2, I remember, like, being interested in it because, like, it has, like, a cool main character and stuff. It's, like, an action game aesthetic, but it also had, like, that anime cel-shading aesthetic, which made it look really stylish.
Mm-hmm.
And so here I'm just, like, watching the trailer, and it just looks like they're going for, like, a realistic CG type of style to it, and I'm just like, oh man, I much preferred that, like, anime cel-shaded aesthetic. I wish they could have just, like, stuck to that.
Well, it's from that era of, like, Devil May Cry, right? So it seems like they're kind of going for that.
Yeah, it does seem like they're going for that. They're going for more like the Devil May Cry style with the graphics.
Yeah, it's interesting. This franchise was kind of always like a very niche franchise, and now it looks like it's got, 5 games now? If you include this one, there's the original Gungrave, there's Gungrave Overdose, there was a Gungrave VR game, which I don't know if that was just a remake of one of the old ones or something. And then there is Gungrave Gore, and now there's Gungrave Gore.
Okay, yeah, according to Anime News Network, this isn't like a sequel. This is actually like they call it a fully rebuilt version of Gungrave Gore.
Huh. So is it this kind of like what Atlas does? In the sense of like, Persona 4 Golden kind of thing?
Yeah, it seems like a Persona 4 Golden because it'll feature new systems and exclusive characters. They know Gungrave Gore launched for the PS4, PlayStation 5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X, and PC in November of 2022. And then Gungrave Gore Ultimate Enhanced Edition launched for the Nintendo Switch in October 2023.
Mm-hmm.
This game is not currently set to launch on any Switch systems. Just this one is set to launch on PS5, PC, and Xbox.
Yeah, and then probably eventually on Switch too, like in 3 years.
In 3 years, yeah.
It'll be called Gungrave Gore Blood Heat Ultimate Enhanced Edition.
Yeah, exactly.
And then they'll have actually secretly released it on Switch and we didn't know. So that version for Switch 2 will also be called Switch 2 Edition Plus, and then have like a whole other name after that. To follow the naming convention,
Right, exactly.
You're gonna have to write a book every time you want to write the name of the game.
Okay, so that was confusing. Thank you, game developers, for being really confusing for no reason.
Next up, sticking with the game theme here, we got a new trailer for Romeo is a Dead Man.
This game looks amazing. This game looks wild. The enemy designs are absolutely insane in a good way. There's this boss that's a trisected zombie head. I thought that is the most insane, wild thing I've ever seen. I was like,
Suda51, man. Have you ever played a Suda51 game?
Not really, no.
Okay, yeah. You're in for a treat. So the thing about Suda51 games is they're very unpolished. So there's gonna be issues. There's gonna be glitches and bugs and frame rate dips and all sorts of problems. But they're gonna be radically creative and weird.
Right, yeah.
That's kind of like his signature. Unfortunately, it's unfortunate that they're always really unpolished, but that's what it comes with to get something so radically weird and different. So, of all the ones that were showing at Tokyo Game Show that aren't announced for Switch 2, that's the one I want to come to Switch 2, because I'm a Suda fan. So, next thing we got a trailer for is Frankenstein. This is for the Guillermo del Toro Frankenstein, coming to Netflix and for a short time to theaters.
Theatrical release to Netflix in November.
Yeah. So when exactly is the theatrical release? I'm very unprepared. Hold on.
This one has Oscar Isaac as Dr. Victor Frankenstein, Jacob Elordi is Frankenstein's monster. Or as mentioned in the credits as the creature.
Okay, so this says that it's going to be in theaters on October 17th and then coming to Netflix on November 7th. So that's so that it can get I think that's what they have to do to get
they are like
an Oscar, like to get Oscar nominations. I think you have to have a theatrical run, and movie theaters won't let you put it in theaters for a day or at the same time as it's on streaming. So you have to do that.
Also, Guillermo del Toro is the type he would not be happy if this did not get a theatrical release.
Yeah, I'm just saying this is what Netflix does with the Knives Out movies too.
Right. Oh yeah. Which this has a great cast though. It's got Oscar Isaac, Jacob Elordi, Mia Goth, Christoph Waltz, Charles Dance is in this, Ralph Ineson.
God, it's got some Nosferatu crossover then if it's got Ralph Ineson in it.
Yes, exactly. Del Toro is cribbing.
He's taking Eggers' cast.
Yeah. And doing period horror movies. He's encroaching on Eggers' turf. They're going to have a turf war pretty soon.
Hey, well, you know what one of my favorite movies was when I was a kid?
What?
Monster Squad.
Monster Squad, yes.
We need a new Monster Squad, and this is how we get it. We got Nosferatu. Now we're getting Frankenstein.
We just get, Monster Squad directed by Guillermo del Toro and Robert Eggers co-directing.
Yeah. I mean, technically, I think we've got, all of them except, The Mummy. Because Del Toro also did The Shape of Water, which is basically the creature in the Black Lagoon. And then they did that Wolfman movie that was, I think, was it A24? One with Julia Garner. That came out last year, I think. So they got that too. So all they need is The Mummy. And then they've got the build up and they can do their Monster Squad extended universe movie. But yeah, Frankenstein looks great. It's Del Toro in his more serious capacity,
Right, yeah.
That's the Frankenstein trailer. We also got a trailer for another horror movie called Psycho Killer.
Yes. This is about, it looks like an FBI agent tracking this case where this killer doing ritualistic, looks like religious-based satanic murders.
Mm-hmm.
It looks really whacked out and freaky.
But yeah, continuing the trend of horror movies just completely dominating the theatrical experience.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It feels like half the movies playing at a theater at any given time are going to be horror movies nowadays, which is really weird because you and I are old enough to remember when there was just a period where there were just no horror movies. They just were not coming out, at least theatrically. You could maybe find them if you went to, a weird theater in some city that was, in the worst part of town and they'd happen to be playing, some obscure horror movie or something. But other than that, there was, nothing mainstream that was coming out horror-wise. And now they're just, like I said, at any given time, it seems like half the movies playing in theaters are horror movies. But that is it for our On Beat segment. And now we're going to move on to our final segment, Full Spoilers. This week, for Full Spoilers, we are going to be talking about Alien Earth. This is the TV show from Noah Hawley that's in the Alien universe, so there are xenomorphs in it, but that's not really what it's about.
It's not really about the xenomorphs, interestingly enough.
Some people have actually complained about, they're saying the xenomorphs were made, weak, they call them the wimpy xenomorphs and stuff.
But that's not accurate.
Yeah.
If you watch the show that's not an accurate assessment.
I think that people are mistaking xenomorphs for predators,
Right.
The aliens are truly terrifying because they're terrifying for environmental reasons and also for numbers.
They're terrifying because they're apex predators, right?
But they're also, what makes them even terrifying to a futuristic society with modern weapons and stuff is okay, you're in a spaceship, you're attacked by an alien, you shoot it with a machine gun, and now you've got a fucking hole in your spaceship because of that.
Oh yeah, especially when you're in tight spaces. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So it's those environmental things. It's the way it can climb on the ceilings, the way it can crawl into the vents, and those kind of things that make it
especially
spaceship horror.
Even in the scenes here where it's out in the open, they did make a point to point out that it's fast. It can sneak up on a group of people and just slaughter them in seconds.
Yeah,
Like,
I think
before they even know
people
it's
just have this
there.
idea that like,
Yeah.
oh, I can't believe they killed one early on and
Yeah.
stuff, and it's like, yeah, how many people did it kill before, you know?
Right, yeah, it killed like that first episode, like that was like the first, like second, that was the second episode that happened where it was just like bloody. Yeah.
Did you like the Victorian, orgy?
Yeah, the Victorian orgy. Yeah. I thought, okay, that's crazy. Yeah, no, like, I enjoyed it. I don't think it's perfect. I do have issues with it. I do think it was kind of an odd decision to have, like, the aliens be, like, the pet of the main protagonist. You know, like, in the same,
Xenomon?
like, she had command over those aliens in the same way, like, Daenerys had command over her dragons.
Yeah.
You know, it felt, like, really similar to that.
Yeah, it kind of reminded me a little bit of like season 3 of Stranger Things with the mini Demogorgon that like was as the pet, you know?
Yeah, oh, yeah, it's the pet.
I had some serious vibes of that, and I'm like, well, that was clearly also influenced by Alien.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was also clearly influenced by Alien. I mean, I get it. We never get that classic Alien thing of where, like, it's loose and it's hunting everybody and there's the tension. A lot of that's neutered because we know the alien is just, like, hanging by, taking commands from Wendy, pretty much.
Yeah.
You know, like, yeah, is hanging back. But I like the way Noah Hawley expands on it because if you think about it, the first movie was Alien because it was just one alien. It was just one, you know, and then James Cameron comes in and now it's Aliens. He puts an S on it. There's multiple xenomorphs in the second movie. They up the ante. And this show, it's aliens, but the aliens, the plural, it isn't just xenomorphs. There's like different species of creatures and they're all like equally deadly in their own way, which is like, I thought was like really cool.
In a way, I think
yeah.
the xenomorph wasn't the deadliest.
Yeah, it wasn't the deadliest, yeah. Like
these were all like apex predators, but the octopus eye thing was probably the scariest.
Yeah, that was the scariest, yeah. And there was like a lot of focus put onto like that one specifically. Especially like they pointed out like it's sentient, it's intelligent. It has motive, which is crazy.
It's opportunistic. Like, it's weird. Like, at one point, it seemed to be trying to warn somebody about the xenomorph, you know?
Yeah.
And then later on, you see another scene where it basically tricks, you know, startles a kid and the one of the kid robots or whatever.
Sets, yeah.
Into, like, letting the door close and locking him in so that he would be killed.
Yeah. It literally, like, kills him, you know, like. Yeah. And the thing is, it's a mystery. We don't know its motives because it can't speak.
It knows pie.
Yeah, it knows pie.
And I don't mean strawberry rhubarb.
I will say, like, episode 5, if you're looking for, like, those classic Aliens vibes, episode 5 is basically like a mini 45-minute to an hour Alien movie because it details what exactly happens to the doomed ship that the security officer was aboard.
Yeah.
The cyborg security officer.
I'd say, like, maybe the first 2 movies kind of have that a bit, too. Like, the first one's a bit sparingly, but, like, the second, episode. The second episode has that feeling, too, of, like, okay, they're being stalked, they're being hunted, they're, you know, trying to figure out.
The first episode opens on that ship and that crew, and then, you know, like, we know things are going to go to shit from the beginning. Pretty obvious, but you don't like really get to see it. It's kind of like glossed over to get to the stuff that's happening on, you know, the island with the CEO of this company, Prodigy, who is
Boy Cavalier.
Boy Cavalier. He's literally named Boy, which is like a choice.
Yeah.
The Boy Cavalier, who is this very young CEO. He's like a super genius. He designed these synths. And basically the big thing, and this is what the show mainly revolves around, is he managed, because there's 3 types of like technology in this world, in this alien universe. There's cyborgs, which we all know are like humans enhanced with cybernetic parts.
Yeah, the character named Morrow who represents that.
Yeah, Morrow is the security officer of the doomed ship we see at the beginning of the series, and he is a cyborg. He is the only survivor of that journey. Then there are synths, which are fully autonomous machines. There's no human element to a synth. It is a hyper-intelligent AI.
We've got two of those.
Body. Yes. Kirsch is the main one. He's played by Timothy Oliphant, you know.
He's the main one as far as the narrative goes, but
yeah.
Adam Ines is like higher up or whatever in the organization. He is.
We don't find out he's a synth till the last episode, though. So it's kind of...
I thought it was pretty obvious. Even like in his room where it's got the face on the wall, the faces on the wall and stuff.
Right, yeah. You could, but like, they definitely like make it like a big reveal. Because like the last episode, they have BK Boy Cavalier tell the story of how he became a CEO at the age of 6 by creating an adult synth. Mm-hmm. To be the figurehead to spearhead his company, and then it's revealed that adult synth was his right-hand man.
Yeah.
Through Wendy. So there's those. There's the fully autonomous AI, and then there's the new one, the one Boy Cavalier's latest creation that's going to make trillions of dollars for Prodigy, the human synth hybrids, which is implanting a human consciousness into a synthetic body, into a synthetic mind, which is what the main characters, and they're all named after Peter Pan characters by BK because he's obsessed with Peter Pan. You know, he considers himself.
Just makes him creepier.
Yeah, it makes him creepier. So, you know, we get Wendy,
who was the last adult that liked to surround himself with kids that was obsessed with Peter Pan?
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah. And they're kids in adult bodies now, so that definitely makes it way creepier.
Yeah.
Like he gives some excuse. Now that I'm thinking about it, I'm thinking, yeah, that's like really sick. I think, I'm thinking like that subtext actually holds water here. Cause like in the beginning, he gives like this excuse that like, I guess like only children's minds could adapt to the process and that adult minds would like, didn't work. They would go crazy or something. Now I'm thinking, I don't know how true that is. I think he wanted to just put kids in adult bodies so he could be like weird. I don't know. But anyway, let's not go there. So the hybrids, we have our main character, Wendy, whose human name was Marcy, and her brother Joe, who is not a synth or a hybrid. He is 100% human.
Well, he becomes a cyborg.
He does become a cyborg.
He loses a lung.
That's right, because he gets injured in the battle with the alien at the beginning of the series.
Which makes the first alien that Wendy controls in the series kind of like his child.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Kind of like his child. Yeah, that's true. Because
it was born out of his lung. Yeah.
It was, because Kirsch is experimenting on the alien embryo and he puts it in Joe's old lung.
Yeah. After they had replaced his lung. They'd already given him an artificial lung, thus making him a cyborg. And then they took his old lung and implanted a xenomorph in it.
Yeah, doing experiments, which I really appreciate. This show goes into great detail about the xenomorph life cycle, if you've ever wondered about that. Like, apparently, like, there are eggs, and when a human being gets close, the eggs release face huggers, which everybody knows what a face hugger is. It's a creature that jumps up and attaches itself to your face. Yeah, hugs your face.
It gives your face lovely hugs.
Lovely hugs. And the face hugger isn't the creature itself. It is a embryonic delivery device because it's an organic delivery device for the embryo because then it implants the embryo into the host and then the embryo develops inside the host's liver or whatever.
And then the hugger just dies.
And then the hugger dies. And then when the embryo has developed enough, it leaves the host by bursting out of their chest really violently.
And it's kind of snake-like in that form.
Yes. Like it's snake-like. It has like small limbs. It's still like very small. And then apparently they grow really big really fast because it does not take them very long after, according to this show, to get to like the classic huge freaking terrifying alien.
I mean, that tracks, with the movies as well. That was the case. That you saw it burst out of the chest, it would get away, and then the next time you saw it was already like a full-sized.
Right, yeah. Yeah, exactly. So we got them. The other hybrids, we got Slightly, real name Arush Singh, Curly, real name Arana James.
No, that's the actress.
That's the actress.
I don't think they ever gave us her name. Or they might have in the finale, I think they did, but that's it.
Yeah.
I wrote the show notes before the finale.
Oh, I see. Okay, yeah, you have competitive here. That confused me.
In the parentheses, what I put in were just notes to help us remember who they are.
Okay, so yeah, there's Curly, don't remember her name. There's Nibs, real name Rosellis. There's Toodles, real name.
Well, I don't think we learned
Isaac
his real name either. Isaac is the name he came up with.
Yeah, he named himself Isaac. That's right.
Yeah.
No, we do learn his real name in the last episode.
He'd already been dead for multiple episodes.
Oh, yeah. So. He's the only one who dies.
Yeah.
He's the only hybrid who dies.
Yeah.
And then there's Smee. So those are the hybrids. Of course, BK named them all after the Lost Boys and Wendy because, again, he's Peter Pan. He's obsessed. And then for the Prodigy crew, the main Prodigy crew, we mentioned BK. There's Dame Sylvia, who is a psychologist. She's married to Arthur Sylvia, who is one of the main scientists working on the project.
And the only kind of one with a real conscience.
Yeah, the only one, real conscious, real worried about, the ethics of what they're doing, you know?
He's played by the husband in Fargo, the last season of Fargo, by the way.
Oh, that's right. I knew I recognized him. I was, trying to rack my brain thinking, I've seen this guy before. I know this guy. I cannot for the life of me remember where I've seen him before.
It's funny because I had, the exact opposite thing where I knew that actor was supposed to be in the show. And I was, looking for him, who the fuck is he? And then when I was doing the show notes, I'm like, oh, I recognize
this guy is so, weirdly familiar. We mentioned Adam Ines, who is the right-hand man to Boy Cavalier and turns out to also be a synthetic that BK created himself. Mm-hmm. And then there's Kirsch, played by Timothy Oliphant, again we mentioned, is the other main synthetic.
Also the standout performance of the series.
Yes, Timothy Oliphant. Timothy Oliphant is amazing.
Yeah.
I mean...
National treasure.
National treasure. He's so good, and I'm so glad he didn't get typecast again. He wasn't made a security officer in this or anything. He is cast as a emotionless, logic-driven AI robot.
He was kind of puzzling to watch because there's parts where he knew a lot more than anybody else about what was going on, and it was showing to us that he knew. He'd see video feeds or hear conversations that nobody else was privy to, and it's he knows this stuff. Why isn't he saying anything? Why isn't he doing anything?
Yeah, he wouldn't report it or let BK, his boss, know what was happening, even though he knew people were making these plots. It's so weird.
BK, of course, referring to Bonky Kong.
Yeah, Bonky Kong. Yeah. At this point forward, BK is always going to refer to Boy Cavalier. I just don't want to have to say that every single time. Yeah, and it's interesting, and we find out at the end it's because, he is trying to outmaneuver Morrow. Kirsch knows the whole time it's Morrow trying to steal back the organisms for Wayland Yutani. We see the CEO of Wayland Yutani several times too.
And it just goes into him being cold-blooded and emotionless because he's a robot, a synth, in that he just lets shit happen.
Yeah.
A bunch of people fucking die, a huge disaster occurs, and it's just that's how I entrapped him.
Yeah, that's how I entrapped him, yeah. As long as his plans come to fruition, that's all he cares about.
Yeah.
And then, of course, got Wendy, the protagonist. She is very interesting because the other hybrids, obviously, they're all human consciousness, so, they're all children. So they all, act very childlike, and at first, Wendy is also, very childlike, too. But she ends up maturing faster than the others in, really interesting ways, to where she starts, questioning the things around her, what she's seeing, but she also figures out a way to tap into the network of the island, electronic network. So she ultimately has control over all the systems in there.
Yeah.
Which none of
by
the other hybrids,
she can pretty much control any robot, including other synths and stuff.
Yeah, including as long as they're connected to the island's network, which, because when she freezes Adam, she says to her brother, he was connected to the network.
Mm-hmm.
That she has access to. And it's interesting because she's the only one who displays this ability.
She has another ability that she's the only one who to display as well.
Yep, and actually BK is to blame for this because he's the one who kind of like sets this up for this to happen. Because when Kirsch is like experimenting on the face hugger and the embryo, she has some connection to it. So where like it's screaming and she's like, it's affecting her. And she collapses.
Mm-hmm.
And they note this. They note that there seems to be some connection, that she's hearing some kind of frequency from this creature that nobody else can hear. And so they start experimenting.
It goes back even before that though, because when they first arrived on the scene of the accident where the spaceship had crashed, she like was hearing it too.
That's true. Yeah, she was hearing it in the, yeah, so it's weird she has some connection to this creature. And so they start running experiments with it. They start playing the sounds of the creatures in a recording, and they're turning up the volume for her until like it affects her.
Yeah, adjusting the different frequencies and stuff to see when it starts becoming clear to her.
Right. And then BK like asks her if she could like mimic its sounds, you know, the sounds it makes, and she says, I don't know how to do that. And he basically tells her, you can mimic any sound you want. It comes from a record, you know, you can store recordings inside you. And
think of your mouth as a speaker, basically.
Think of your mouth as a speaker, yeah. And that's how she learns to start vocalizing those sounds. So really, it's his fault for, like, cluing her into that, which she does a lot from that point. And she uses it to talk to the embryo that they were experimenting on. You know, it develops and it bursts out of
her brother's lung.
Her brother's lung that they have in the lab. And she's there, and she basically, this newborn alien creature, she starts talking to it. And that's how, like, she develops this connection with it. And from there on, she talks to it constantly. She just like, sits there.
They're painting their toenails together.
Yeah.
They're talking about what boys they like.
Yeah, we're talking about what boys they like. Yeah. She just sits there and talks to it all the time.
Mm-hmm. And she comments that the reason she likes them is because they don't lie. And so a lot of the story is kind of like the idea of when is humanity not humanity anymore? Like when is a robot not a robot anymore? And those kind of things. It's like directly brought up by Morrow at one point. He says it as like a riddle to Slightly before he manipulates him. And that's kind of the general theme of the series. Like it's not really about the aliens so much as it's about the AI and these people. And if they are, you know, that's a thing they keep bringing up. Like, I think at one point Arthur makes a comment where he says, best case scenario, we murdered a bunch of kids.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Best case scenario, we murdered a bunch of kids.
Yeah.
We do see their graves towards the end, and I'm a little ambiguous on that, because, like, what that means, like, I think, because once they transferred the consciousness, right, the old bodies are dead, pretty much.
Well,
they just buried the old bodies.
They didn't transfer the consciousness, they transferred the memories.
Okay.
So
that's
I think
a memory transfer.
Well, I mean, there is no way to transfer consciousness, you know?
But that's what they imply at the beginning.
Memories as data. Well, that's what they're telling the kids so that they don't think that they're dead.
Right.
But, I mean, that's the only way that's how memory transfer. I actually really like that they did that because that is like a pet peeve of mine when it comes to sci-fi. Whenever you have like a story where they're like, oh, okay, you know, we're transferring your consciousness over to this other thing using like a computer, and we're like copying your memory and pasting it into this next one. And then after that's done, then we kill your old body so that your new one can wake up or something. And it's like, yeah, it doesn't even matter at that point. You could leave the old body alive and still have the memories transfer over. Like it doesn't need to, you know, that's always been like a point of contention for me in like a lot of sci-fi stories that deal with this kind of thing. And so I kind of like that they handled it in that way of like, they're not really sure what's going on with it. They're not really sure how much it is. And by the end of it, Wendy's like, I don't know what I am. She's like, I'm not human. I'm not synth. I'm not Wendy. I'm not Marcy, you know?
Right. She has this whole question. And it's interesting because she still has this naive, childlike view of the world of like good and evil. She knows like there are good things and there are bad things. And at the end there, in her mind, things are either good or they're bad. And so like when Joe, her brother, who she thinks of as like a good person, when he shoots Nib, she sees that like it's a bad thing. So she's kind of confused in that respect because she's angry at him for doing something she considers evil, but she also doesn't think he is evil. Like he exists in this gray area. And then she reveals to him that that's why she likes the aliens, because to her, like, they're honest. They're not gray, you know? Yeah.
They're apex predators, and they're acting as predators. They're not lying. They're not manipulating. They're just being who they are.
Yes.
Which is interesting. The only thing that's kind of a problem with that is that you've added that attribute to an existing science fiction creature that's been around since the 70s that people are like hyper attached to. So I understand why some people are like not too fond of the show and what it did with the aliens, like you said, basically making them the equivalent to like Daenerys' dragon pet, you know?
Right. They're not the stars of the show. The show doesn't go in the way you expect, where you expect the aliens get out, they're uncontrollable, people start getting picked off. That doesn't happen in this show. The alien does kill like a lot of people, but they're mostly extras in like, you know, like guard uniforms.
Yeah. Red shirts, to use the old Star Trek term.
Right.
A bunch of red shirts.
A bunch of red shirts. None of the main characters actually end up getting killed off by an alien in the show. In fact, the only like hybrid synth that get killed off gets killed by like these really like gnarly flies.
Yeah, these flies that like spit out acid to dissolve something and then eat it.
Yes. And it turns out the thing they like to eat is like non-organic mineral compounds.
Because there isn't organic. It's like they've adapted to be able to eat non-organic stuff because there's like really almost no organic stuff where they come from or something.
Yeah, or something. And then towards the end it goes full Westworld, because when you get to the last episode, Wendy and the other hybrid synths have managed to basically capture everybody. She puts them all in a prison and a cage where they had her and the other hybrids locked up previously, and she announces that they're taking over.
Mm-hmm.
And it ends there. Well, it ends with like, there's another tease too, where the eye creature that we've been seeing throughout this season, it goes into Arthur's dead body. Yes, Arthur is dead because...
that's probably the most tragic part of the whole show.
It's the whole tragic part of the whole show, yeah, because basically, slightly, he gets Morrow in his ear. Morrow, when he meets Slightly at the beginning of the series, puts an implant in Slightly that lets Morrow, like, speak to him remotely, and Morrow is manipulating him to basically, like, smuggle an alien embryo off the island.
Yeah,
you know,
and the means he comes up with to do that isn't to take one of the eggs in a box and get it off the island, but to literally get somebody infected. Yeah.
Yeah, to smuggle it out through a person.
And Slightly doesn't know what that means. Like, he doesn't understand the life cycle of the xenomorph and what that means.
And Morrow isn't going to be too revealing about that. Morrow just says, he'll
be in for a rough bit, you know, and then he'll be fine.
Then he'll be fine.
Yeah.
And initially, Slightly is trying to get Joe, Wendy's brother, is his initial mark. He's one of the most obvious humans who's around.
It's not just that though. There's like, he has a kind of animosity towards him, because when he's being pressured by all this, he's frustrated by the fact that Joe's there with him. Several of the
yeah. He's frustrated because Joe is Wendy's brother.
And his family is in danger.
His family is in danger, and he can't be with his family, and he thinks it's not fair that Wendy gets to be with a member of her family when they can't.
So he's targeting Joe in a way that's a bit more, a bit more than just opportunistic.
But that doesn't end up working out. He can't get Joe where he needs him, and it almost looking like he is not going to be able to complete Morrow's mission. He's getting frustrated. Then a situation crops up where Isaac ends up getting himself killed by the flies, and that creates a situation where Arthur, having been fired, by the way, for objecting to things.
For refusing to wipe and reinstall Nibs.
Yeah, Nibs.
Because Nibs thinks she's pregnant, because she's got some past trauma that they didn't really reveal.
Yeah, she's got some past trauma where, like, she not only thinks she's pregnant, but she can also get, like, really aggressive and violent to a scary degree. So basically, Arthur and his wife are ordered, to basically, like, erase her memories, try to erase that trauma, and basically make her, like, a smiley, happy hybrid in the way they want. And she goes...
Arthur refuses to do it. Dame Sylvia says she will do it. Adam asked her if she can do it without him, and she says yes, and then they fire him, like, on the spot.
And then basically Arthur having been fired, Joe comes to Arthur for help about getting off the island because Joe wants to get off the island with Wendy. Arthur sees an opportunity and helps him out, not like verbally, obviously on the down low. He
gives him the boat code.
He gives him the boat code.
Turns off the trackers for all the kids. Yeah.
Yes, and it's in the attempt to turn off the trackers for all the hybrids that there is an error with Isaac's tracker. Like Isaac cannot be found. And that piques Arthur is like, okay, what's happening here? And it gives him Isaac's last location. And of course, this is what sets Arthur up to be Slightly's victim,
Lovingly hugged in the face.
Yeah, lovingly hugged in the face. So Slightly does end up getting somebody infected with the embryo, but Slightly does not manage to get the embryo to the meeting spot in time. He doesn't know what's going to happen, first of all. He has no clue.
That was like the saddest scene in the series when Arthur was suddenly awake but didn't really remember everything that had happened. And he was kind of out of it, and they were like kind of dragging him along.
They're dragging him along. And the whole time, like Arthur's awake and talking, but the whole time what's going to happen to Arthur. Arthur is doomed. Like he didn't get better. He's not going to recover.
And then he shows his humanity because because at this point it's Slightly's, recruited Smee to help him. And the two of them are basically trying to drag him to the point, and Arthur stops and says, no, we can't do this, we gotta do it. And then they're like, no, you don't understand, we gotta go. Slightly's panicking and stuff. And Arthur just shows true compassion and humanity, and is holds both of their hands and says I'll listen to you, I'll help you in any way I can, but let's stop here and do it the right way and stuff. And the kids kind of start going along with him, and that's when it burst from his chest.
The chest burster, yeah. It was on his chest, yeah. And then, Slightly shows up at the meeting point with Arthur's body, with no alien to show for it, which obviously upsets Morrow. And then we find out what Kirsch was doing, too, because Kirsch is on top of it, because Kirsch's team, immediately capture the newly born alien. They immediately capture it. And Kirsch has it by the time, Morrow realizes, what's going on.
He also entraps Morrow and all of his men.
Yes. So the whole thing goes to complete shit for Morrow.
That being said, Weyland-Yutani is blocking all communication off the island with satellites, and is also Morrow has severed the ground cable under the ocean. So basically they're stuck on the island.
They're stuck on the island, yeah.
And Weyland-Yutani's greater forces are coming.
So what do you think of the series?
I thought it was all right. I think there's a lot of stuff that's really good. I think it's just so tricky when a show takes an existing franchise and really kind of reinvents aspects of it, or kind of does things in such a way. I've heard people refer to it as it's certainly good alien fan fiction or something, that kind of aspect. And
I don't know if it reinvents anything, more it expands the lore. We see more of this world in this series, right? Because again, we see multiple new alien species. We see some of Earth. I don't know. It's about more than just the creatures.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like we said, it's not even really about the creatures. The creatures are a subplot.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
It's really about the AI. It's really about these hybrid kids and the synths and the corporations and the five, as they're called. And that's what it's really about. It's about that power balance and kind of the dystopian future and these life forms, these kids that are hybrids between synths and humans and stuff.
And now the hybrids have taken over the island. They have BK and
it's set up for what is presumably season 2. I don't think there's been a confirmation.
There hasn't been a confirmation of season 2, but yeah, this is definitely not conceived as a one and done. That's for sure.
Yeah,
especially because at the end, we go back to Arthur's lifeless body. You might be thinking, well, why is Arthur's rotting corpse relevant that we have to go back to it? That's because the eye, the hyper-intelligent eye that we've been seeing, finds a new host in Arthur's body.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where we leave that. And so it's kind of okay, there's stuff here that they're working on for a second season.
Yeah. It's kind of like, I almost wish that Alien didn't exist before this.
Mm-hmm.
Just because then there wouldn't be any, like, conflict. There wouldn't be so much scrutiny online about, like, oh, is this okay that he did this with Alien or blah, blah, or whatever? It's like, if you look at it as its own story, it's good. The only conflict is when you look at it in relation to the rest of the franchise. And that's when you start to get, like, hypercritical, because you start thinking, like, oh, so aliens were on Earth, like, before Ripley encountered them? And, like what's going on with that? And
does this take place in the past? I thought this took place after, like, the films.
No, this takes place, I believe, before, like, right before, I think, Ripley's first mission.
I watched this, like, assuming this was, like, after the movies. Because people seem to, like, know what xenomorphs were, like, already.
Well,
like,
they knew because they had record of, because Weyland-Yutani documented them, found them, and then that information was on the computer and Kirsch read it. He was, like, reading the panels about all the different creatures.
Right.
So that's how people...
But even, like, the scientists, the crew on the ship, before it crashed, like, even, like, they knew what it was.
Well, that's because they were Weyland-Yutani. They were part of that mission, specifically to get that creature and others like it.
Right.
But, yeah, I mean, because if even they didn't really understand what was going on with when a guy got infected, and...
Oh, that's true, yeah.
They tried to cut into it, and it, like, killed the one when they tried to cut in because they didn't know about the acid blood and stuff like that.
Yeah, they didn't know about the acid blood.
And then all that stuff that they found out through their misadventures is what became the documents that Kirsch read.
Kirsch read, yeah. They didn't know about the chest burster.
Yeah.
And obviously, like, Kirsch doing the experiments on the face hugger and the embryo, documenting exactly what happens.
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
Yeah. But that's pretty much it for Alien Earth. Are you looking forward to a second season? Do you kind of feel like it's done? Do you kind of wish this was a one and done kind of thing? Like a miniseries?
No, I don't. I would watch more of this. I would watch a season 2 if that happens.
I'm really interested in where they would go with the season 2.
Same.
Because a lot of the horror aspect is kind of a bit faded now.
Right.
That happens kind of in a organic way throughout the show, as these kids kind of come to power and come to their own strength and stuff. But then you go into the second season, you're like continuing from that point on. And there's still big threats. Like I said, that eyeball alien is arguably more terrifying than the xenomorphs.
Oh, yeah.
And that's now loose on the island in Arthur's rotting, bloated corpse.
Yeah, it's going to be animating Arthur's corpse. And presumably it will be able to speak now. And we'll probably, like, learn more about it through, like, its own words.
Yeah. But that's pretty much it for Alien Earth.
Yeah.
So next week we are doing Abigail, which is available to stream on Peacock. We're going to be discussing that. This is from basically the same people that did Ready or Not, which we talked about last week. So we're using Alien Earth as a buffer between those two. But stay tuned for that. Until then, you can follow me on Twitter and Blue Sky. I'm at Tyson Gifford. You can follow Will on both of those platforms. He is at Foxel Hero. You can check out our website, thetotalscreen.com. If you go to our website, open up a container store for any of our podcast episodes, and scroll down to the last paragraph, you'll find all the relevant links to our SoundCloud page, our RSS feed, our YouTube channel, all that stuff's there. You can also subscribe to this podcast in your favorite podcast client of choice, like Apple Podcasts or Pocket Casts, and the entire backlog of this podcast, as well as additional content, is available on our YouTube channel as well, so you can check that out too. Until next week, thank you everybody for listening. Good night.
Good night.
Thank you for listening to the OnScreen podcast, the official podcast of The Total Screen. Visit our website at thetotalscreen.com. This podcast can be found on any major podcast client, including Pocket Cast and Apple Podcast. The entire backlog of this podcast and other content can be found on our YouTube channel.